Wait.
Give me some mic checks about where you'll be talking.
Hello? I'm here.
Is that where you're talking?
Probably here.
All right, keep talking.
Hey, how's it going?
Keep going.
We just got out of the warehouse. We're here over at the...
Hey there. Just got out of the warehouse, drunk a lot of whiskey, pretty much shit-faced, but things are good. At this point in time,
I thought you were spinning the whole time.
Sitting next to my buddy Emerald here.
You're good.
Hey everyone, today's guests are pretty special. If you've been in the bourbon game long enough, you're going to know the name Reid Emerald. If an old willet ever pops up for sale that these guys picked, and one did a few weeks ago on the forums, you're looking at a clean almost maybe $3,000 to $4,000 for that bottle. These guys are that good. They've been around a long time and are part of the barrel picking group 1789B, which most people might have heard of if you've been around here even a short while. Not to mention, they're also part of the barrel pick that we did at Wild Turkey back on episode 105. This week's iTunes review shout out goes to someone who looks like they probably had a hard time picking out a username because he or she is going by the name Holy Crap Nicknames. Best bourbon chatter out there, full stop. Look forward to hearing the twang of the intro guitars every episode. Especially good for someone like me who's been into bourbon for a couple years but may not know all the nuances, history, and industry and the people, but want to learn more. So thank you again for making that awesome iTunes review. Be sure to support the podcast by making those iTunes reviews if you haven't done so already. And before I forget, this might be the first time we've had a guest on the show that is also a Patreon supporter. So thank you, Reid, for doing that. And also, be like Reid. Go to patreon.com/Bourbon Pursuit and support the show to receive cool swag like stickers, koozies, t-shirts, bourbon samples, and more. With that, enjoy this week's episode. Do you ever pour yourself a bourbon, swirl it around, and then start struggling to come up with tasting notes? And perhaps you're also looking for a good Father's Day gift idea. Well, you can now solve both with a kit from Knows Your Bourbon. And unlike other nosing kits on the market, Knows Your Bourbon kits feature real ingredients for the most authentic aromas. You can smell real Tahitian vanilla bean instead of some synthetic aroma that's just made from chemicals. So head on over to knowsyourbourbon.com and enter code BP10 for 10% off your order. Always find what you love at Total Wine & More. With so many great bottles to choose from at the lowest price, it's easy to find your favorite Cabernet or a new single barrel bourbon to try with some help from one of their friendly guides. And with every bottle comes the confidence of knowing you just found something amazing. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love and love what you find only at Total Wine & More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly and be 21. From their bar to yours, Chad and Sarah of the popular YouTube channel It's Bourbon Night bring you their favorite at-home old-fashioned mix with the new Elemental Elixirs Golden Hour Syrup. It's a custom-made syrup with notes of bold black tea, warm spices, and orange zest. All you need is your favorite whiskey and ice. No bitters needed. One bottle makes 16 drinks, so that's only $1 a cocktail before you add your own whiskey. They can also be enjoyed in other cocktails or spirits, mocktails, coffee, tea, and anything you can think of. It's crafted locally in Lexington, Kentucky, and you can get your bottle now at whiskeyambitions.com.
Play Whiskey Wednesday, Round 11, the memory game. Until June 26, each week you can win one of our 12 incredible grand prizes. Select 2 doors at checkout. And if they match on drawing night, you'll win that bottle. Not a match? No worries. You still score a Weller 12-year. Every $5 ticket gives you 5 chances to win, including 4 weekly bonus prizes. Get your tickets now at give270.org. Charitable Gaming License ORG 0002703.
Ed Bly and Rising Tide Spirits are back again with a new release of Old Stubborn Bourbon. And this release of Old Stubborn is a premium hand marriage of 10, 11, and 12-year cask strength, barely filtered pot still bourbon. It comes in at a staggering 123.8 proof. And the flavoring grain for this one, which the last one was wheated, but this time it's now rye. Rich, sweet, and bold with a long finish that's sure to be another eye-opener. You can order online at Sealbox or thebourbonconcierge.com. And you can even purchase in person at Revival Vintage Spirits, and even now with very few select stores in Kentucky. You can get it now while you can, but be sure to do it because it's not going to last long.
Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Pursuit Podcast, the official podcast of bourbon. Ryan and me are sitting here. We just got done with a wild turkey barrel pick, which it might become after this, it might become before this, in regards of the editing power it's going to take into it. But we took this opportunity and we said, there's some guys that are pretty heavy hitters, I guess you could say, when it comes to doing the barrel picking realm. And it would do us a disservice if we didn't take the opportunity to be able to talk to you all. So shove a mic in their face and say, talk to us.
Yeah,
right?
Hello.
Yeah, so we're actually, for anybody that's actually watching on video right now, we are in the old Wild Turkey Visitor Center, right? So this is with the original one that's been here for a long time. This was before bourbon was cool. This was the Visitor Center.
Back in the old days.
Exactly. Not only that is,
3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago. And when we walked in here, you even said, oh, I got that bottle that's a 1981 old, Wild Turkey. I think I saw it in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's go ahead and good time to introduce our guests. So today we have Reid Emerald, and I'm not going to do a disservice of saying where you come from or anything. I want to kind of leave that up for you to talk about. So I want to start over here. So Reid, go ahead and kind of give us your history and your story real quick.
I'm the old guy in the group.
So first off, I guess we should probably talk about this.
How'd you get into bourbon?
Let's talk about your last name here first. So if anybody that doesn't know about Reid.
It's Reid Bechtel.
All right, Reid.
Clifton, Virginia, and have been involved with what you would call the better things in life for a lot of years. Things like cigars, good food. I'm a master barbecue judge for the Kansas City Barbecue Society. So really things that, look, it's not how long you live, it's how well you live, because none of us know how long we're going to live. And, with that is you just try to find good people, nice folks to hang out with, live your life the right way. It's amazing the kind of people you run into. So in bourbon, cigars, barbecue seem to cover all those bases when you're looking for nice people that basically just really focus on things that make life better.
How did bourbon become one of those, like you said, nicer things in life for you?
Well, again, it's being the older guy. I've been involved with cigars and bourbon for 30 plus years. And, again, as you meet interesting people and you go on in life, you develop a better appreciation. Cigars, for instance. I was lucky enough to get into illicit cigars many, many years ago.
Is that like Cubans? I mean, is that
the cigars from south of Miami.
Okay.
It's probably the illicit cigars. But, in the days when things really, people always liked Cuban cigars, but they weren't the end thing. So you got in and you buy a box of cigars for $80 that sadly today sells for $800, $900. And the same thing happened with bourbon. You got into bourbon, we'd go to the liquor store in Virginia where the Pappy 20 sat on the shelf because it was like $79 and it was too much for anybody to spend, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, hell, $1,500 isn't too much. That's a bargain for Pappy 20. So we were lucky. I was lucky being older, getting in there, enjoying these things and picking things up. And I've always said that if I did as well with my hobbies as I did with my investments, I'd be a whole lot better off in life because, everything you do because you love it, you do it with a passion. And, cigars and bourbon and all those things in life seem to really pay off in spades. And, but the best part is the people. The cigars and the bourbon just serve as a catalyst to meet really great people like this bandit over here.
Sounds a good time to introduce. Go ahead.
So Emerald Adair, I'm out of Tucson, Arizona, and Reid nailed it. I mean, I got into bourbon because of the folks. And I've been very fortunate. I have met good folks like Reid and his adventures. Guys like Jim Cantrell doing something real cool right now with new launch vehicles. I've just been able to navigate through it's really good times with good folks. And then that really sums up how everything comes together. So Greg Gilbert, who's not here with us today, another one of the guys from 1789B, just a good guy, never met him in my life. I'm stuck in DC for a couple of weeks. And he's like, you know what? Come have dinner. Next thing I know, go from having dinner with Greg to having dinner with Reid. and you meet this whole new world of folks. And I've just been fortunate to have enough travel and enough downtime to be able to meet folks that you would have never, ever in your world associated with. And when I got into this, it was something to do completely different than what I did with my career. You know, you get so involved in your career that becomes everything in your life. I said, I gotta do something different. And this became kind of just a hobby and passion. And the next thing I know, this became the thing of the focus of my life, to enjoy these good people, and bourbon came with it. And we have been blessed with stumbling across barrels that rolled on top of us and taste really good. When you walk into some of these distilleries, and again, it goes back to relationships. You know the master distillers, you know the guy that knows the master distiller. They invite you down for something special, like what we did today, whether that's this podcast or the one before or after.
There's a jab with us.
I totally get how this works. You meet these good folks. So you look at Ed Blay, and you look at the crew he brought today, and you guys are in the same crew. Just good folks we get to meet and spend time with. You know, what brought us together?
He's a nice guy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
A glass is something that's really fun to drink, but really it's well beyond this. And this just happens to be the pinnacle of, not the pinnacle. It has to be the glue that brought us together initially, and then we grow way beyond that. So it's just kind of, if I look back on my life now, I look back on my life 30 years from now, if I'm still around, these are the things that made life good.
Absolutely. So what we have on the table right here, and we didn't really do it justice talking about it when we started the show, but you've got your 1789B coins, or what do you call them? Pog slammers. Like, I don't know. Pog slammers.
So one of the guys that helps us with 1789B, Jake, great guy out of Seattle, military guy. He said, hey, you know what? We need something.
Challenge coins.
Who's buying? And he put these together. The guy is just nothing but a good soul. Another example of, I landed in Seattle. I was like, what do you mean you didn't call me? Tomorrow night, we're having dinner. I'm going to meet everybody I know. We're going to have a good time and have dinner. I've never met half these folks. They're all fans and friends and family now. So he put these coins together, just kind of we've got a copper version that's part of the group. And then once you make it a year, and what requires a year's service, if you want to call it a service, is you're part of the group, you interact, and you're part of this family. So we have very, very few that fall out because that's the kind of folks that come out of this industry. So we're up. It's a blessing.
So before I dive into it too much, I guess for anybody that's not familiar, explain what 1789B is. The first off,
how it got started.
Just to be able to kind of just talk about generally like what it is, because I think anybody that's into bourbon knows who it is, but for those newbies out there, kind of explain what it is.
1789B started. We were all there's a lot of bourbon boards around, and I was involved with numerous bourbon boards and cigar boards. And we had an incident one day where on one of the bigger bourbon boards, some of the newer guys came in and they were asking questions, quite simple questions like, what should I buy? What should I do this? And the problem you get with a lot of the older bourbon guys is they find that insulting.
Right.
And it's, instead of being welcoming to people that come in, and I had an altercation with one of the moderators who said, well, if you don't like it, start your own damn form. So, well, why not?
1789B.
So, and I was part of the origins of a cigar board. So when we started up, we said, look, it's got to be limited. It's not going to have 15,000 people. It has to be limited 70 people. We need the 70 best people we can get. And it has to be a gentleman's club, which means we're not talking politics and we're not talking religion. And if you do, you're out. And that's the way it is. And the rule of the club is that if your wife or your kids are looking over your shoulder at that screen, you would not be embarrassed. And that's the basic fundamentals of 1789B. And we started off with bourbon being the catalyst, and it's evolved where we talk just as much about cigars, cooking. I mean, our wives say you guys are a bunch of pansies because the best recipes that we have come from all these guys on the board.
Pinterest board.
Yeah, right.
1790
Right.
Pinterest.
And one of the rules of the group was, and it wasn't to buy barrels. It was funny. That came afterwards. And we started to buy barrels, and we got to know the guys in the early days, the Drew Coldsveens of Willett, that everybody was poo-pooing because he wasn't making his own whiskey, he was buying it. The Dave Perkins, same thing. He was buying his whiskey. We got to know these guys and found them to be genuinely nice people. And one of the rules of our group is you can buy it, but you can't sell it. Give it away to friends, give it away to family, donate it to charity. But if you buy a barrel, and the problem we get into now is some of the original Reid and Emeralds which we couldn't give away for $32, are now like people will pay you $5,000-$6,000 a bottle for this stuff, and we get called. People
I can't get my head wrapped around that at all.
And the difficult thing is, but no, you can't sell it. That's it. You want to donate it. We just had a member pass away, and we've set up a charity. We'll probably generate $40,000. The other thing we do is that for every bottle we have done, we donate money to no-kill animal shelters. And to date, we've donated over $40,000.
That's awesome.
To no-kill animal shelters. We have a guy, Tom.
Yep.
He just goes around. We talk to animal protection groups and basically, so you have to kind of give a little something back. And look, it's only brown water. People take this shit too.
It's just another bottle of whiskey. Right?
They take it too seriously.
I know
it's just
podcasting out, right? Like how weird.
Yeah, it is. And so that's the way it started. So it started on a mutual respect as a gentleman's club that it would be nice, and we use bourbon to be the catalyst to bring things together. And up to this point in time, we're buying barrels of Armagnac, tequila, a variety of other things, but it's all being done because the people really enjoy it. And again, it's 70 members. So it's not like, and we've done 112 barrels of whiskey so far.
5 years, 40K to charity, 112 barrels.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
It's all tight knit. I don't know what to compare it to.
Right.
It's a fun group. And there's a lot of great groups out there. The guys up in the Northeast, the guys down in the South. Just, I can't even remember the name of the guys out in San Francisco because there's 2 or 3 groups, but they're all great guys too. So I wouldn't rank any of them above one of the others. It's just good folks doing what they do. And our specialty happens to be it's really good folks around, I'd say, the pleasure of life. Like Reid said, the good things you enjoy, and that happens to be bourbon, barbecue. Some guy asked, which suit should we buy this week?
We were talking about suits. I need to buy a suit coat, right?
So which one? It's the wildest form you could imagine. Because if you try to nail it down on Google of what we cover, it looks like schizophrenia.
It is.
The bottom line is, like Reid said, it all comes together because it's folks that are respectful. It reminds you of what, different than what you see today. Everybody's screaming at each other. We have the most diverse politics, the most diverse religion you can think of out there. Doesn't make any damn difference. They're all good folks. We have a good time together. We all come together, and that diversity makes us
and our
unbelievably strong.
The membership is extreme. The interesting thing about the membership is that a lot of people would know if they knew who the members were.
Yeah,
because they run a lot of online forums and a variety of other things. And but the name of the game is just enjoy it. And one of the rules we have is you could belong to any. There's a lot of groups that say, well, if you belong to us, you can't join another group. Ours is join whoever the hell you want to join. I mean, it's like golf. Join whoever you want. It is more diverse. We encourage people to do that. As you guys know, we hold an event here in Bardstown, and the first thing we do is we run into folks like yourselves or the folks we met from Cork and Barrel or Bourbon Mop. Say, hey, come on over. Drink some bourbon, have some cigars, have some dinner with us because it's a very nice community.
We do our best to avoid any industry influence. Hey, we're tied to any one group because we're not.
You can't be an industry. You cannot. Anybody that's tied to the industry in any way cannot be a member.
Yeah.
Cool. Where does 1789B come from, the name?
Since the B is for bourbon, and 1789 was theoretically the year that Elijah Craig basically first called it bourbon.
Ah, that priest that magically had the bar.
The fire that never existed, maybe. Who knows?
That's right, because it originated from the cigar board, which was 1492C, which theoretically was when Columbus discovered Cuba, and the C is for cigars.
That makes sense. It makes sense. So I guess... So you said this group has been 5 years running now? So
2000. It originated on October 5th, 2010 was the first post.
Okay,
about 7 years,
7 years when it's been started. So I guess what about your group? Because I mean, don't get me wrong. Anybody that's a whiskey nerd or a whiskey geek knows of when they see they'll see a posting and it has the 1789B sticker on it. And all of a sudden, like everybody just, their hair sticks at the back and
they're drooling,
whatever it is. But I mean, what do you think it is about distilleries that maybe they roll out the red carpet for you, or is it just
I wouldn't say
coincidence?
That. So we were fortunate enough to be into this before the big boom. So I think Reid says it best. We walk into a distillery and they roll out 10 barrels and every bloody one's good. Any idiot can pick out good barrels.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, this one tastes like gasoline. This one tastes like vanilla. Oh my God, this one tastes like, what is this? And today's a good example. How many guys in that group were 1789B? 2 of how many were there? 9?
Yeah.
We didn't get anything special. We had the fortunate, because of Ed Blay really did all the work on this one, to pull this together with his connections. It's all about relationships. He was able to pull this together, and we got to taste really good whiskeys. And we picked 5 barrels today out of around 11 we tasted. Yeah. That's remarkable. I mean, picking 50%, roughly 50% of the barrels rolled out is almost unheard of. But that's, again, Ed Blay rolled out that relationship. We were fortunate enough to get tied to it based on just, we're not a bunch of pricks, we're having a good time. Ed gets to know me. I didn't know Ed from Adam. I met him through a mutual friend, got to know him. Ed got to know me through him, and we just hit it off. And the next thing you know, we end up in this relationship, and he invites us to participate. That wasn't 1789B making this happen. This was somebody that had a big passion, that's a phenomenal individual that gets to work with Eddie and Jimmy Russell, and we get to be part. So
the other thing I think is really interesting about the bourbon community down here, and I'm talking about the Wild Turkey folks and the Jim Rutledges and, the Drews of the world, is they're a very loyal group. They remember the people that were there before it became, the thing to do. When we went again to Drew, and Drew was trying to sell Willets,
take a piece.
As Fred Mick always said, like, don't forget about the guy that took you to the dance. Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. The days of BT when you could go in there and buy virtually everything. And, the beauty about the people in this industry is they kind of remember that. So even as everybody came in willing to pay more, willing to do whatever they wanted to do, they say, you guys were here back in 2010 before everybody else was here. And it's an interesting loyalty. And it's let me tell you, it's tough to find in the world today, people that would go back, because everybody's chasing the buck.
Oh, yeah.
These folks, they'll go back and they'll say, look, you guys were here at the beginning. And I got to tell you, in our case, because we're a private group, so we get into situations where there's retailers banging on these guys, saying, whoa, we can't get barrels, and you're giving this crap to these guys that aren't even in the business. And I got to tell you, they remember. And that's, I think, the beauty, because everything goes through a cycle, and this cycle will end. Mm-hmm. It will end. And at that point in time, we're still going to be there, dealing with friends that we've developed over the years. And
we'll have more choices. Okay with me too.
There'll be a lot more choices.
Yeah. But again, so that's the way the business works. It's a handshake business. People come in, the relationships we developed with both retailers and everybody else, it's all, based on mutual respect. And, the simple fact that we go in and we say, look, if we buy your bourbon, it's not going to end up on the secondary market, as far as we can help it.
Which you can control.
Which we control, and you can't control all of it, but for the most part, because we've dismembered members that took the advantage trying to sell a bottle. And that's
we stand behind what we say. We're going to keep this in the group. And when we found that folks decided that wasn't the path for them, we agreed that wasn't the path for them. And the only exception we've made is with Tim Davis recently passing away unexpectedly.
One of our members, yeah.
The group, well beyond 1789B, has donated a remarkable amount of very select bottles that don't all have our label on them. They're what we have in our bunkers as family, and we're auctioning them off. And we're probably going to approach something around $40,000.
40,000 plus donations for his kids.
Put his 2 kids that are approaching college through school. Yeah. So that's the only exception we've ever made, where you'll see coming out of our leader, Greg Gilbert, auctions on one of the not mentioned websites out there.
It's okay. We don't have to say.
But you'll find it out there.
Rhymes with Smashbook? Is that what it is?
Something like that.
Smash face?
So again, it's not about profiting. There's no interest in there. It's in helping the groups or helping the community and reaching beyond, which is not how we started. It was just a group of guys that decided we want to do something that's actually more family oriented. And next thing you know, we're a group of 70 folks that care about the animal no-kill shelters, members that have issues. It's amazing.
We encourage the wives and significant others. You'll see. Anytime we get together, the wives know each other as much as the members do.
In fact, they can climb right to the
and they drive around us.
They drive us around, and there comes a certain point when they say, "Don't worry about it. He's just going to keep buying it. So don't worry about it. Doesn't matter.
Just let it slide."
Yeah,
it's a support group.
It's a support group.
Exactly.
If you're anything like me, then you can't get enough about bourbon. And that's why I'm a subscriber to Bourbon Plus magazine. Bourbon Plus is a quarterly publication that tells the stories from the heart of bourbon, the farmers who grow the grain, the distillers who labor over the process, and the people like you and me who raise their glasses to celebrate it all. Subscribe to Bourbon Plus magazine today at bourbonplus.com, that's PLUS.com, and use code PURSUIT at checkout for $5 off your subscription. Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point of sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. Shopify's point of sale is your command center for your retail store. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify has everything you need to sell in person. And with Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers in line and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns, from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. And get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone. Transform your tablet into a point-of-sale system or use Shopify's point-of-sale Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Do retail right with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/bourbon, all lowercase, and go to shopify.com/bourbon to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/bourbon.
So how do you become one of the 70?
So it starts off with just, the same kind of mentality of who are good folks. And it doesn't have to be around bourbon. We have guys in our group we brought in that are very new to bourbon. It's just, it's the folks you meet in your life that you bring in. There's a guy today we brought in that's, he's not a member. He's just a really good guy. He has the potential of being one of the members just because he is who he is. The guy's a former special ops guy. He is huge with just interacting with people and helping folks. And I didn't pick him. He just happens to be a good friend I got to know. So eventually you introduce him into the group and they become part of the fabric. We cap it at 70 because when you start getting above that, we kind of figure that it starts getting squirrely. You start getting factions, and Absolutely. That's not what we want. And even at 70, it's, my hat's off to Reid and my hat's off to Greg for managing 70 herds of cats with 75 opinions. It's nuts, but it's to be part of the guys. It's just you just be who you are, and it doesn't discount. There's phenomenal folks we know that are not actual members of 1789B because
like us. No, I'm kidding.
No, exactly. You guys are active, but it's the guys we know that are very good, but they don't actively participate. And one of our requirements is you have to be an active member contributing to the board. That's the hardest thing about any of these groups is sustaining an interest for years.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll throw another question your way because, this all started from a bourbon board and, PHPBB boards that were way back in the day, just regular forums, right? Now, the advent of Facebook and the Facebook groups that have been prolific in the past, 2-3 years?
Yep.
Like, how has that changed the dynamic of the group, whether you move to something like that or whether you're involved in those conversations? You just kind of try to mute it as best as you can.
Yeah, we basically operate under a typical format. It's good because it's secure to a large degree, and basically it's an encompassed community. You get 70 guys that since 2010. If I reach for the stats, there's probably 280,000 posts on our board. 70 guys, 280,000 posts.
You're like, what can we possibly talk about this match?
Well, but the other thing is that we've been very lucky to have, we invited Dave Perkins on. We did a blind tasting with Dave Perkins where he provided some of his whiskey. We tossed a bunch of other whiskeys in there. And you got to love Dave. Because Dave was saying, who would drink this crap? And we'd say, oh, Dave, that's one of yours. That's one of the ones you gave us. And he'd say, oh, you got to be kidding me, And we've had Jim Rutledge. And we've had a wide variety of people that have come on and do this interactive.
Beyond bourbon.
Beyond bourbon. We've had barbecue guys and all kind
of beer, you name it.
Beer, cigars, the whole.
Passionate folks.
the whole 9 yards. But it's a safe place to go. You go the internet today. You go to these forums, and whether it be Facebook, and it's like, I mean, are you ready for some abuse? And people are doing this, and it drives you crazy. And ours is, it's like a peaceful place. You kind of go. You talk about bourbon. You talk about, one of our members we just discovered came down with cancer. And it's like that community. So who's he tell first? He goes and tells us guys, and we say, Jesus Christ, that's a shit. It's tough, but it's if you picture it, the way we envisioned it was if you go back into the 30s and the 20s, where the gentlemen go to the gentlemen's club and light their cigars and have their drink, and just be civil. That's exactly what we set it up as. And interestingly enough, it's actually worked out pretty well. It's like the virtual gentleman's club.
You take those two hot topics of religion and politics, I was thinking, oh my God, you can find common ground.
We thought with this last election, I said, this is going to be the telling tale of whether we survive, and not one post.
Nope.
And let me tell you, we've got guys that are so far at the opposite end of this spectrum. It is,
you got to go to the Facebook to find that.
Unbelievable. Yeah, and it gets you nowhere. But the interesting is, people come and everybody's civil. And then, look, if you want to get into that, grab Play Places, the other 3,000 boards you can go to and kick that around. And a lot of the boards we find, a lot of the bourbon boards, even today, are structured in a way that are, I don't know, they're different. They're different. There's a lot of...
I think they're structured more around like, this bottle's releasing here. Here's the info. Here's the intel. Or I'm selling this. That is not more of like, let's chat.
I can't remember the last time we had a post on what's the latest release.
Yeah.
I don't know if we ever have, actually.
You don't do it. You don't do it. But what you'll find is, as we've asked you gentlemen, if you have time, stop by. We spend some time here, 3-4 days. And, come on by. This is probably the best bourbon you'll ever find.
I might get your number.
There. Yeah.
I'll be in Bardstown tomorrow.
Yeah. Cigars and food and all that. But again, bourbon is very social. And if you treat it as that, and you find it as a way to bring people together and enjoy, life, rather than, hey, I got the hottest thing in life. I'm not going to open it. I just wanted to let you know I got it. Right? Does anybody open any of this new stuff anymore? I mean, does anybody open bourbon?
They're just liquid stock.
And people think stuff get traded, and there's a lot of this, guess what I have? It's like, okay.
Nice.
I mean, so I guess, what's your thoughts about that, right? Because I can tell by the demeaning kind of tone in your voice, you're kind of like, it's bullshit at the end of the day, right? Like, you should be able to enjoy this because it's something that isn't, it's nothing that's going to gain you a lot of value at the end of the day. Well, maybe it will at some point, but those are people that want to sell it. But I mean, in regards of just enjoying it and enjoying the fruits of life, I think that's the main thing that you guys are really going after, right?
I wouldn't say, folks go out there and buy and trade and sell stocks, bourbon, cars. Hey, that's absolutely fine. And there's guys in our group that do that outside of our group.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't dislike them for it. We have rules on what we do with our juice because of the agreements we've made to have access. So I don't look it down upon it. It's just, that's not...
It's not for you all.
Yeah, but it's still tough because, for instance, we take a look at, we did 5 Reid Emeralds. And, on average, we paid $65 a bottle on average.
I think it was 85 when it first came, 85.99.
The weed.
I had to have a ship to
talk about the Reid Emeralds real quick. For anybody that doesn't know about it, talk about the early barrel picks, what they were, all these other kind of things.
We did 5 Reid Emerald barrel picks.
And the first one was a 6-year-old that just, reached out of the rick house, slapped both of us, and we had about 10 barrels we had to down select from, and we put a bunch of them on hold.
Well, I know we got to pay Justice a Wild Turkey for hosting this, but where are they at? Give us some more.
That was Willet.
Okay.
It was a juice. They don't. You can't reveal their sources, but they had some selections in there.
Not that it
was BF.
Not that it was BF.
Not that it was BF.
3 places it could possibly be.
Yeah,
from,
you guys can figure that out. If you taste it, you're like, okay,
you know exactly what it is.
Not Maker's Mark. So, but it was. We got to taste these great barrels. We put 10 on hold. Some of those we down selected to. We get to top 3. We ended up with the first one that was a 6-year-old. this is like nothing else I've ever had. It's like drinking molasses, caramel syrup, you name it. It's just this big bourbon that opens up and keeps changing. And we had a 7-year-old that was Reid Emerald 5 that had that same group. So I think it's 797 and 767 if I remember correctly. I don't memorize them, and then we had other ones that ended up with 1792 or 1789 bottles, and other folks with similar ones out of our groups. It just happened to be ones we stumbled across. Yeah. And then we were fortunate enough to be able to pick from a couple hundred 16-year-old, they're probably Bernheim. They're the instant to Weller barrels, wheat and whiskeys. You can take what you want from that. And you select from 200 barrels to get to down select over many weeks to choose. You can probably pick out a couple decent bottles from 200. If you can't, maybe you should be doing something else.
Yeah.
So
we are excellent bourbon pickers, but we're more than that. We're really lucky.
Yeah, it's lucky. Way lucky.
Had nothing to do with.
I mean, I guess talk about the mindset and mentality that goes behind taking something that's 200 barrels and narrowing it down to 5. I mean, today, most people that go on barrel picks today, I mean, at the very, very most, you have like 10 to 15 barrels. At the majority are like 6 barrels, and you say choose one.
It's a change in the culture for demand. So when you're out there and they can't give it away, hey, come taste these. Yeah. You can go, okay, that's cool. What do you have to offer? And you're a group of 3 or 7, and you're out there with the master distiller or the guy that owns the place, and you're wandering through the rick house because he's got nothing else to do the rest of the day. So when the poor bastard's got a group of 12 coming in every 45 minutes, 10 hours a day.
Today, yeah.
So when, like today, how many hours did we spend tasting 10 barrels?
An hour and a half.
By the time we got to 4, we started coming into a glide mode.
Yeah.
You start looking at it, and they do the math. It's simple. You do the math. Okay, in about 4 barrels, this group is already pretty much peaked out. Figure out what you want to go off and do. They'll pick one of those 4, move them to the next group. It is a business.
Yeah, we've walked away a lot of times. Though. We've done a lot. We've done a lot of barrel tastings where we're very respectful, but say there's nothing here we like. We've done that with virtually every.
No, actually, what's fun is that actually does its own justice. The guys say, no, we appreciate that because we're looking for this profile. Yeah. Hey, we'll be back out when you can. Here's what we're looking for. And they learn, okay, this group is looking for something different than what we brought out. Because the guys that bring it out know what they're bringing out. Oh, I don't know these guys. So let's get something really close to main profile. They're looking for something else. So over time, and that's what's nice, they start understanding our profile, and that relationship builds up. In the future, they roll out 6 barrels. They know probably 5 of those are really close to what we're looking for, and we're going to end up with 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah, but a lot of times we you do pass on. We have a unique selection system that we use to pick barrels. But, for the most part, we're not infallible. There's a lot of groups out there pick some great barrels. I mean, I'm going to tell you, we'll drink stuff and say, God, why don't we find this one? In all honesty. But it's more a game of, it's really more a game of luck. Where those barrels today, how many barrels are in that rick house they could have rolled out?
I know.
So can I guarantee it, that Eddie probably pre-selected some. Mm-hmm. And maybe
they had the list in his book.
Right. Be pre-select, but Eddie can't taste everything that's available and mature at that point in time. So it becomes a game of the odds. And, you were there as we tasted through them, and it's very distinctive, because immediately. You nose it, you taste it, and you say, you typically know at that moment, how's this going to roll out? It be huge.
I mean, everything from soft current profile out to somewhere in left field.
Yeah.
And that was fun. Yeah, that's what makes it fun.
But if you look, I mean, you're going to find a constant theme. If I look at our group, it's going to be sweet, and it's going to be not show its alcohol, even though they're cask strength. It's going to, it could be 120 proof, but it's not going to drink like 120 proof. It's going to be soft on the palate, and it's going to have a great finish. When that finish comes, it's going to remain sweet, and it's going to run down the sides of the mouth rather than just sit on the back of the tongue. And you guys were there. You did it. I mean, you detected it, and you think you got to be this amazing bourbon. I mean, just buy what you like. I mean, it's that goddamn simple. It's like people go through. You can't shove enough stuff in a bottle the way these guys describe this stuff. You look at all these, how do you get all that stuff in the bottle?
It smells like freshly cut grass. And
right. And
smell of
third week of Maine.
We've had some interactions with some of the most should we say, the most accomplished bourbon reviewers and public bourbon reviewers. And if I've done it once, I've done it 15 times. Say, look, why don't you do a blind tasting with us? We'll do everything blind. The only individual ever took us up on that from the industry was Dave Perkins. The only one.
And I mean, his reviews were phenomenal. It was so much fun because we look it through our group and we have some opinionated folks. You know, you'd expect that. And it was fun. It was a great discussion. And I think he took that information back and, thought about his product line and how to handle it. And it was fun reading his notes on his thoughts about all of the ryes we tasted across the industry.
But it's what you like. Because I'm going to tell you, we line up, we just did a rye tasting, 20 ryes, 26 tasters. Yeah. And I would sit there, I was doing all the recaps, and I would sit there and say, are these guys drinking the same stuff? And I mean, these are people that are whiskey aficionados for years. Yeah. But it's all what you like. You two guys. My guess is, you'll at times part ways on, what do you like, what do you don't like, how do you do it? And people get so hung up, they get driven by, they follow these reviewers. This is what I should like. Forget
like you said,
drink what you like. Really drink
rule number one. You'll get or you'll read a review and then you'll drink, but like you're already in your head, you have like a confirmation bias, so like you're already thinking about
this must be good. The label changed my thoughts.
I mean, let me tell you, we had this thing here, and we said, okay, we're going to taste these bourbons, and there was a Pappy and a Russell's Reserve and a something you never heard of. I guarantee you, the one you never heard of could have been the best, but you are, and this is my problem with professional reviews, they're label biased. I mean, because I am. As soon as when I see that Pappy label, I'm expecting something. And simply the fact I paid a lot of money for it, it's got to be good, even though it tastes like crap. I said, it's got to taste good. I
just don't understand
because I'm no idiot to spend that kind of money for.
And you're like, I shouldn't open it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'll post that question to you all because you guys have been doing this for decades now, and there is a thing when newcomers come to the market and they think, oh man, I've watched Billions and I've seen Michter's 20. I've watched all these shows and they talk.
Older's the better. Spent more. It's got to be better.
It's either that or just the mainstream
the higher curve
builds up a bias around some labels. Like, do you guys get caught up in a chase at all, or is it for you guys? I mean, as Ryan has mentioned a lot of times on the show, that barrel picks are about as the best as it can get at this point, because not only that it. You represent a group, right? To be able to say like, okay, we're going to buy today 5 barrels. There's me, how many bottles? And, go ahead. How many bottles are you going to buy from whatever it is, right? So.
Yeah, I think, you take a look, somebody comes to me and says, what's the recommendation? The first thing is it has to be available. Yeah, that's the biggest problem. People say, well, what should I buy? I can tell you go to the liquor store. If I go to the liquor store in Virginia today, my take is, pick up, if somebody asks for a recommendation, I tell you what, Evan Williams White Label, $13 a bottle, bottle and bond. I'm going to tell you.
Four Roses Yellow Label. That's $13 a bottle and you'll love it.
You're telling me the guys from 1789B sit there and drink 4 Roses Yellow Label on a daily basis? I
guarantee you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I guarantee you. I have a Manhattan barrel that I do. And it's what you like. It's truly what you like. It's like today, Wild Turkey, Russell's Reserve. I'll buy it out of the liquor store, sight unseen, because it's going to be good whiskey.
All the friends I know getting into it, I usually start them off with Weller SR or Yellow Label and go, what do you think about these? To kind of figure out where they want to go. You don't need to go spend $120 to have a good bottle of bourbon. And then when you start looking at price point per quality, it's hard to beat that Yellow Label. $13, $14, $18. It's and you get a free glass with it. You have a good time. It's a good drinking whiskey. And I've been in San Francisco looking at all their sell stuff going, I'm not spending $75 a glass. Yeah. But we have 4 Roses Yellow on tap. Tap? Okay, give me some of it. Yeah. And you just sit back and enjoy it. And you're going to enjoy that whiskey instead of gambling on some unknown high-dollar juice.
We do a lot of blind. We just recently did a blind tasting at 20 off-the-shelf ryes. Off-the-shelf, meaning we went out, we bought them off the shelf. Because people are label biased. And the perfect example is, for our group, Woodford Reserve is probably not what you would call a big go-to brand. So we tossed in a Woodford rye, right? We figured,
see how this goes.
See how that goes. We threw in a Knob Creek rye. Right, I'm going to tell you, the folks, when they can't see the label and they can taste it, I'm going to tell you, they turned out being really good rye. Now, the top rye was Russell's Reserve rye.
Yeah, not to push the Wild Turkey.
Not to push the Wild Turkey.
One of my favorites is the
still
standard Wild Turkey 101 rye.
So what did I do? So I go out. If you come to my place and you look on the bar, there's a bottle of Knob Creek rye there. There's a bottle of Woodford Reserve rye there because, they're just good, solid whiskey. And you just don't go out back every day and blow your brains out.
Yeah,
with cast strength, it's not that way.
A lot of times, if you see stuff on the shelf that's there every day, you overlook it.
You do.
Like, that's not
rare. That's right.
It's the big boys. Like, I'm not going to buy that. But then, like, when you actually drink them, you're like, it's a reason why they're the big boys because it's good stuff.
It is. Booker's. Baker's. Baker's is. I always drink Baker's a lot. I'm saying, how do people bypass Baker's? It's a good, solid bourbon, for what, $40, $45 a bottle. We're all chasing the stuff. I'm going to pay $3,000 for a bottle of something that in a lot of cases, in a lot of states, not as good as the $45 Baker's.
Yeah.
Knob Creek 120. Oh, yeah, right. OG 114, the bargain of the world.
Yeah.
The bargain of the world out there.
We got to keep the Henry McKenna's of the world.
Yeah, Henry McKenna's. It's another one.
Exactly.
It's another. But the problem with Henry McKenna's, the fact is that here's the deal. So you go to liquor, it's still a single barrel. So the first thing you do, you go to liquor store, you got to buy. Okay, let me find 3 different barrels, bring them home, open them all, taste them. Okay, because if you find one you really like, if you don't buy it immediately at the liquor store, it's gone. Mm-hmm. And they're all single barrels, and that's the interesting thing about it's the reviewers. My pet peeve with reviewers. They review McKenna, they review Evan Williams single barrel.
Which barrel?
People run. Which barrel?
Evan Williams.
All different.
I love the 88. Okay, there's like 17 different single barrels. Which one did you like?
Which one?
The one you can't have.
Which one did you like? So look, I think the real bourbon aficionados in this world aren't hung up on the stuff they're paying $3,000 for the Pappies of the world. You know what? In fact, you feel better when you go out and you find that $26 bottle of OWA or the 114 or the McKenna. I got to tell you, these are good whiskeys. And if you put them in a blind tasting, I'm going to tell you, you're going to get some surprising results. People won't admit it. You put them in there against the big boys.
You won't get the answer you think.
You won't get the answer you think.
So I'll throw one last question. I want to wrap this up a little bit.
So I get the Mammoth Cave.
Yeah, because you guys are, as you said, you've had some stellar picks. You're part of a group that's pretty well renowned and known in the bourbon world. Is there a certain bourbon pick that you haven't done yet that would be on your bucket list?
Good question.
Stump
the chump.
It didn't take very long.
But he's always late to the party. He never knows. the one that I would do, and it's interesting because it's available. It's not available in the United States. Is when I take a look at a whiskey that I have to go out of my way to find and go jump through hoops. Is the Blanton's straight from the barrel, and I'm going to tell you, there's such a distinct difference between the American variety that's available off the shelf that's watered down, and the straight from the barrel is the fact. If I had to try, and we've tried every which way from Sunday, saying, look, if I could buy a barrel straight from the barrel, that would be phenomenal.
Just need a zip code in Japan.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, it is it's a great bottle of whiskey, and you just scratch your head and you say, okay, so why can't we buy it here? But for me, that would be the one.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's definitely a good one.
So I'm not a big rye guy, but I would probably love to go run through Wild Turkey's rye. I love Wild Turkey.
You got the answer today.
And I would, I get the same answer I get every time I ask.
You can't be doing no running through there.
I'd like to go pick out a Wild Turkey Rye 101. Yeah. Something that just harkens back to what they did when they had the Christmas label that's just got that wide profile that's not like the other ryes. Folks love the Van Winkle ryes, and they're very good, the top-end handies and the Sazeracs, and that's great. When we do blinds, that Wild Turkey 101 comes up in the top 2 or 3 every time because it's got that just phenomenal balance. Yeah. And as the more I've had whiskeys and bourbons, I've got away from those heavy barrel proofs. It's in that 86 to 101 range that I find I enjoy sitting there drinking.
That's interesting because most people are like, well, you get into bourbon a little bit, you start low, and then you're like, okay, we're going to go high up.
Some of the best whiskey I've ever had in my life is some of the stuff in the 70s that's 86 proof. It was pretty close to barrel proof, but it was low in the rick house. It comes out, it's just full and fat and balanced, and it was 86 proof or near 86.8 when they roll the barrel.
Yeah, it's very rare we personally drink barrel picks at cask strength. In a lot of cases, you'll find a sweet spot. So we'll pick up a barrel, we'll pick up a barrel of Willets, for instance. It's 122, 123 proof, and I'll continue to add water to it. And you find a really sweet spot. And, you saw that today. Some of them fall apart with water, some of them come together. And for the most part, and then what I'll do is I will blend the bottle and just put it up on the shelf because it changes. When you just add water to a glass versus adding water to a bottle and putting on the shelf for 30 days, completely different. But most of the whiskey I drink is probably 107 or less proof all the time.
I'm not looking for the alcohol burn. I'm looking for that flavor profile. I don't care what the proof is.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that's awesome, guys. I want to say thank you so much for joining us today.
Our pleasure.
Just to be able to dive into your minds, understand, where you're coming from, learn more about 1789B in itself, because you see it all the time anytime, it comes up in a discussion that these are the guys that know what they're doing, right? It's consistently.
This is a group that's lucky enough to stumble into good stuff.
No. We're really smart, excellent bourbon pickers that nobody else can compete with, other than being really lucky.
Palates ever.
Absolutely not. I guarantee you. It's all a game of how much do you have to pick from, and picking what you like. Don't pick what the reviewer tells you ought to pick. Don't pick what the distiller tells you what to pick. Pick what you like.
Exactly.
Well, that's awesome. So again, thank you all for joining us today. Reid Emerald,
you bet.
Definitely a pleasure. Is if anybody wants to get in contact with you, is there a blanket email address?
Just look for Bourbon Dork and get a hold of him.
Okay, there we go. So that's how you get ahead of 1790B. You just got to be able to
you can reach us. You can search for us online, and you can find us.
You got to do some Google sleuthing.
Yeah,
it doesn't take very long anymore. You can't hide the internet.
Ever since that arrest,
as far as you know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, that's why you can't be 200 feet away from school anymore.
That's right. That's right.
It has nothing to do with the firearms or anything. Hopefully, you guys got at least 10 minutes of good editing out of this.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So again, thank you all for joining the show today. It's been a pleasure. Ryan, if you want to close this out, go for it.
Yeah, thanks again. That was fantastic. hanging out with you guys in the Rick House here. Hopefully enjoy Mammoth Cave, and we'll be hanging out in Bardstown tomorrow.
You bet. You both got the open invitation.
Enjoying the finer places. Enjoying the finer things in life, as you say. So appreciate it again, and we'll see you soon.
You bet. Thanks so much.
If you have any more show suggestions, anything like that, please send us an email, theduo@bourbonpursuit.com. You can make sure you watch everything on facebook.com/bourbonpursuit. Of course, you can always write us a good review on iTunes.
We'll see you next time.
Next week. Thank you.